What's going on, guys? It's your boy Krys, and I'm going to be breaking down my predictions for all 30 NBA teams this upcoming season. This is going to be a pretty long video, so if you're not interested in watching all 30 teams and you just want to pick yours out of the bunch, don't worry, I've got captions down below, but otherwise, go ahead and grab yourself some popcorn, snacks, I don't know what you guys do. Unlike the regular YouTuber, I'm going to give each one of your guys' teams a proper run by this time, don't worry. In the East, I went with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know it's not the most exciting pick, and to be honest, most of you guys were probably going to choose the same thing, but my decision making comes from the fact that they've been the best team the last 2 seasons, and I don't really see it going anywhere. Evan Mobley is a fantastic player. One of the things that I already knew about him is that he can run like a gazelle, but from some of my research, I started to realize that this guy needs to get some more touches. If I'm a Cavs fan, I'm hoping that Kenny Atkinson gets this guy as many touches as he can. I mean, I know that you guys still have Donovan Mitchell on the team. He's basically a walking 30-point per game player. You've got Darius Garland. He's probably going to be just as good as he was last year. I know he took a little bit of a step back, but I mean, the guy's no joke. He was a 2010 player for a reason. Lonzo Ball, Max Strus, I'm looking through the teams here. By the way, I'm using NBA as the official source for the rosters, so if I'm off by somebody, I'm sorry about that. It hasn't updated or whatever they're doing with it, but this is on behalf of NBA. In addition to that, of course, Jarrett Allen, he's going to be another great big man. He was already an all-star before. I don't see him getting much worse. If either one of those guys deals with injuries between him and Mobley, I think they're going to be fine. Their depth is not going to be an issue. And once you get into the second or third year of your run, it starts to be less valuable for you to win games, and that's why I don't have 60 wins for them. I think they're going to probably top out in the high 50s. But if you are wondering why I don't have any 60-win teams at all, that's because of the second apron, and I'm going to bitch about that a lot, but we'll get to that. I know some of you guys might complain about the Cleveland Cavaliers playoff runs. This isn't obviously a playoff run prediction, but they're going to be a great offensive team, probably going to be a great defensive team too in the regular season. I don't see any reason why they won't be first. If they bounce in the first round or second, that's whatever, but I'm giving them 57-25. I would like to see Lonzo Ball come back and play. I don't know what the status of him is right now. Maybe one of you guys can tell me in the comment section below. I'd like to really see him play in the backup role because I think he could be one of the Ricky Rubio types that you had last year or the year before. I think Cleveland's doing a really good job keeping their team together. And hey, 57 wins is not bad. DeAndre Hunter, he seems like he's going to be another solid guy on this team. Larry Nance, always a solid plug. I think, for the last 5 or 6 years, people have been kind of sleeping on him, but he's never been a bad player, and I don't think he's going to be this year either. And my boy Dean Wade, the second coming of the Flash. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up 15 a game. Moving on to number 1 in the West. My prediction is, drumroll please. Yeah, you probably could have guessed that one too. So OKC being in my number 1 spot, obviously not a crazy pick. They bounce out at 60-22. I think they are capable of a back-to-back 60-game season. Here's my problem. Again, second apron, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it, but I think parity is pretty much going to be the new norm here, and I think you're going to see less highs and less lows at the same. So get prepared for that prediction. But 60-22, they're going to play awesome in the regular season. They've still got most of their pieces together. All their big guys just got paid, so they're really going to want to show out. Plus, they're young. They're coming off a ring. They probably all feel like Michael Jordan. So this is the perfect time for them to really run it back. The other thing, too, is I do think they will take another step back. If you are a Oklahoma City Thunder fan and you think to yourself, nah, we're going for 65+. We're going for 65+. Well, you're probably too young to remember the fact that Golden State Warriors tried to do this in, almost exactly a decade ago. Didn't work out the way they were hoping. The reality is, once you're winning, once you start to build that momentum, once you start to get to a point where your team is a dynasty tier, you gotta hit the brakes a little bit. They might even be willing to risk a seed placement just for, health or being able to play some guys with a little bit less intensity. We'll see. I don't know that much, but I will say, even with all those things against them, even with a potential injury in the way, they're still going to be a lock for first seed, and I think they're going to be more than a lock to be able to sit close to 60 wins. As far as additions to their team, I don't see anybody off the top of my head that is a crazy piece. Maybe you guys can let me know. I was very excited for their rookie, Thomas Sorber. I thought he was a steal. I thought he was going to be absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately, he will be out for the whole season. That kind of sucks, but it's also not the worst thing this year. It might be the worst thing next year, and that's because OKC owns like 3 picks of people's for 2026. It's horrible. I don't know how you guys ended up doing that kind of robbery. This is insane, but whatever. So yeah, Thomas Sorber, he'll be out. That kind of sucks. I expect him to come back and be pretty good. Hopefully him running into the overload of picks next year doesn't cause some strain on his career, but we'll see. I will say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be back and will probably be playing the best basketball of his life. No question about that. However, there's going to be some runner-ups for MVP. I don't think you can just go and give it to him yet. Already it's too early. I know I'm predicting in mid-September, but it's too early to really say it just because there's a couple other guys on this list that I think will be in the race for MVP. But keep an eye on Shai. He's probably going to average 33. That's my little side prediction. I don't know. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, they got their bags. What, $275 a piece? They better play good, because I'll tell you what, it's going to stink if you paid them all that money, put yourself into the tax like that, and now you're in trouble. So I am very much hoping that this is a improvement year for both of them. I have no reason to think it's not. I wasn't always the biggest fans of this team, but they proved me wrong, and they deserve to be champions. They're where they are for a reason. So I do hope that they keep it up and they build on the momentum, because with the position they are in financially, they're going to have to start plucking off a role player or two every single season, and eventually that's going to get to a critical mass point. Right now they've got guys like Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Jang. I don't even know if you guys use him, but I kind of liked him back in the day whenever I've seen him before. Nikola Topic, he's interesting. Isaiah Hartenstein, Kenrick Williams. I mean, the whole list has somewhat notable NBA players, so I'm hoping that you guys do maintain the momentum you're on. I hope that it's going to be good for basketball for you guys to build on what you've done before. I think that when you have a position to have a dynasty in the NBA, you don't throw that away. So my prediction, 60-22. We'll see if they can keep up in the playoffs. At number 2 in the East, New York Knicks, baby. I'm going to give it to you guys one more time. I know some people are saying, they're starting to hit that wall, they're starting to get close, but I think they've got another year in the tank. I think they're still better than the large majority of the East. I still think that, while it's close and while number 3 is on their tail, I do think that for the time being, if they are not the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're the best team in the East. Clearly Jalen Brunson has taken a level that none of us have thought. I think if his health stays strong and he plays enough games, he could be an MVP candidate. I think he could truly, honestly put himself in a top 3 or 4 position. This is me coming from, not much of a Knicks fan. I will always root for the Knicks because I hate trash talk and I think they're great. But I'm not really big on Knicks, and I still got them at 55-27. That's really going to put them in the same position they've been the last couple of years. So if they want to make a difference, this is probably their last big chance to do it. They've kind of gutted a little bit of their roster here. They've cashed in on their assets. They've liquidated. So, still, they have a lot of guys on their team that I like. I think Karl Anthony Towns has proved that, he's not a one-trick pony. He can do it anywhere. 25 and 12 last season? No question. OG Anunoby was their last big Hail Mary. They're kind of stuck with what they have now. But I think they've got a lot of guys that will still contribute on their team. I think, again, the reason I put them at, the top 1 or 2 in the East is because when you have depth, you're really going to be able to hold up your record. Historically, that's been true. I don't see any reason to think that the Knicks wouldn't be a part of that conversation. I really don't. If they lose one guy, I don't see any hole here. I do see a little bit of age, a little bit of rust. Obviously, that's a playoff conversation, but I don't see anything here to be concerned about. If you're a Knicks fan, you're in a good spot, but you should also be a little bit impatient, because if things don't happen this year, then I would start to put a little bit of a fire underneath Dolan's butt. At number 2 in the West, You guys know it's going to be the Rockets. Again, I'm playing pretty safe, but this is about the end of where it stays consistent from last year. The Houston Rockets, the reason why I gave them 58 and 24 is because they're going to have some crud from the Kevin Durant thing. Trust me, it's going to happen. They're going to have a 3, 4, 5 game losing streak this year where people are going to say, oh, it's imploding, KD's going to get pissed off, the young guys aren't going to be scoring, and then all of a sudden they're going to do like a 7 out of 9 and everyone's going to think they're title ready. Overall, besides that, I think they're going to be at a very high position in the West, and to be honest, even the fact that they gutted their team, I still see enough depth for them to like say, okay, we can make a run, we can do what we need to do. The playoffs are obviously the bottom line for them too. All 4 of these teams that I've mentioned so far, this isn't their bottom line. This, ranking doesn't matter ultimately to them, but it is interesting to see where I think they'll be through their trials and tribulations. So obviously, besides Kevin Durant, you still got some guys on there. The Amen Thompson thing, I think that's going to be awesome. I think he's going to be great this year. Please, Kevin Durant, I used to be such a big fan of you. Stay out of his way. Please stay out of his way. They have a ton of young guys on this team. Reed Shepherd, who's this? Tari Eason, I hope he's young. Obviously, Alperen Şengün was an all-star last year. I mean, the team is ready, and I think this is the year where they kind of say, okay, we're complete, we're going to push. There's a bit of a addition by subtraction thing to the Kevin Durant situation. However, I think this team is young enough to adapt, and honestly, I think they're selfless enough to adapt. Nobody on this team was crazy. The only one I thought was going to be a deterioration to the team was kicked out in the offseason, and that's Jalen Green. So I think you guys are going to be fine. I'll be a fan of the Rockets. I'll be watching a lot of them. I'm hoping that you guys don't beat yourselves, because that's really the only thing holding you back in the regular season. Now I'm reaching into my bag because at number 3, I have Orlando Magic. And yeah, I've gone ahead and tied them at 55 and 27 with the New York Knicks, and that's because I was really having a struggle between whether I wanted to put New York at 2 or 3 and swap with Orlando. Ultimately, I went with Orlando at number 3 because they just need to prove it to me. They need to prove to me that they've been better than the Knicks. I'm not quite there, but they have all the tools. And also, they're making up for lost time. I mean, this has been 10 years in the making. They haven't really done enough up to this point. I believe last year was not a 50-win team, but they were close as I think they've been so far, maybe 48, something like that. They need to push 50, and I think with all the pieces they have, they should be able to. Look, as great as Paolo is, I think Franz is even better. He's coming off of a Euro Cup medal. I think he's going to be really, really energized to get in the season. And quite honestly, I think he's going to want to try to prove himself to be the best player on that team. So look out for them. I think Desmond Bane was the missing piece. They're still really short of a point guard, but they seem to be doing this playmaking through the big thing, which a lot of the teams are now. So I think a point guard isn't a requirement, but Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they do have a lot of work to do to ensure that their guards can get open. The rest of the team's gonna have to knock down shots. If they don't, this could look like 45 and 37 very quickly. So that's my only concern with you guys. But obviously, I was born and raised in Florida. I've been around Orlando. I went to UCF. So I have a lot of hope for Orlando. I think they're gonna be a fantastic team. Like I said, everybody on that roster seems to really have the tools, except for the jump shot, and we're kind of praying as a collective NBA fandom at this point that Desmond Bane can just have a good season for them so that the Orlando Magic isn't they would be great if they could just, no. Let's just have a great Orlando Magic team. Who doesn't love the pinstripes? Let's have them in the playoffs for more than 5 games, please. Also, I'm really proud of what Jalen Suggs has done. I think he's looking good. I think he's kind of built himself into a nice player. I've strayed away from Magic games in the last couple of years, so when I peeked back in and saw that he was doing great, that Jonathan Isaac was even back, Anthony Black looks like a stud. I mean, the team's got a lot of great players. I think the young guys are even really, really, at least personality matching towards the overall thing. I think Tristan Da Silva will be cool. I think Goga Bitadze has found a little bit of a home for himself. Wendell might be your only, stale link there, but I think you can figure it out. I don't think he's a bad player regardless, and maybe I'm sleeping on him. I remember being an Orlando Magic fan, and I loved Andrew Nicholson. Nobody loved Andrew Nicholson. Maybe he's your guys' Andrew Nicholson. I don't know, but yeah, I think you guys have a lot of room to grow. I think you're kind of in a similar position to where the Cleveland Cavaliers are, where your team is starting to grow. You've got a lot of top-end talent, but you are not also leveled out either. I'd be excited to see maybe a more accurate representation would be the Rockets before Kevin Durant. But I like the only reason I like this new NBA is because there's a lot of depth on these teams. And I'm not even going to credit with the NBA with that, because that's just the fact that we have way more players. I mean, I kind of screw the NBA for the way they've been handling themselves, but this isn't an NBA ranking list. This is an NBA franchise and by extension team and by extension player ranking list. So it is what it is. Yeah, shout out Orlando Magic. Oh baby, y'all are gonna love this one. I have the LA Lakers at number 3, and this is honestly gonna pull some feathers. My prediction for the NBA Finals is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Orlando Magic going up against each other for the 3rd time matchup, with an Orlando absolute through the moon walkthrough of the East, and Luka proving his dominance just to beat them in 5 or 6 games, win his first ring, yada yada yada. But yeah, you guys can bank it on that. I've still got 9 months to be proven wrong. So in the meantime, 56-26. Look, they're going to be a great team. If you don't think that the Lakers are capable of the top 4 seed, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. Luka Doncic looks like the best player he's honestly ever been. I think he's going to be even better than his should have been MVP season 2 years ago, his final run. I think he's going to be, much more hungry to win, and I think that's going to drive them to a inevitable high seed, including well above 50 games. LeBron James is still on the team. If he plays, they're probably going to win. It doesn't matter how selfish he is. If they play, he's probably going to win. They also picked up DeAndre Ayton. I know you guys might think DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart are, middle of the road pickups, but look, the Lakers just grabbed themselves a lot of value for almost nothing. That DeAndre Ayton pickup will do wonders for them. Luka Doncic was, I believe, their leading rebounder on the team last year. That's not going to happen again. They're going to have a guy that, at his very worst, is a 15-10 player, and at his best, with one of the best lob passers and pick and roll players in the entire NBA, if not the best. There might be a position here where we're looking at a 20-10 DeAndre Ayton, and if that happens, I'm here to tell you I told you so. There's really nothing else. I think Marcus Smart will play great. They have a lot of, some could even say too many ball handlers, with Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James. He's going to be a great pickup for them because the guy doesn't need the ball. He's going to do all the other things. He'll keep Luka, in his role so that way he can stay busy. And overall, it adds just enough depth to their team where if somebody sits out, they can make a night-to-night adjustment. I do think that because of the depth, they're not going to be able to keep up with the 2 teams above them. But the other 2 teams, I've already made my qualifiers for why they may go up or down. So I think that we're kind of in a safe spot here. Clearly, I'm not going too high with the numbers because in my world, you have to earn it if you're going to go above expectations. So I have them at 56-26. Book it. Detroit fans are going to hate me for this one, but yes, I have them at 4th seed at 52-30. Of course, you guys are still going to be a 51 team, no question about that. And yeah, I know you guys are probably saying, well, we were better than the Orlando Magic were last year, and there's no reason we can't be better than the ones this year. Look, Detroit is a cool team. They have a lot of cool players, but from what I saw as an outside perspective, looked like a bit of a capped team. It seems like unless there's another player in there that's ready to really blossom, or they make a little bit of a lateral change, this might be very close to as good as they get. Now, that's not a knock on Cade Cunningham. He's fantastic. He did a lot of awesome things for that team last year. He will get better. The rest of the team, however, I felt was maybe a year or 2 ahead of schedule. And I think that's going to cause some issues. You guys have some cool big men. There's, clearly some young projects haven't worked out in your favor. That's why I have y'all a little lower than maybe I would have. But prove me wrong. This is not a Detroit Pistons hate video. This is simply you haven't shown me enough. There were some good playoff runs, but they don't look like a team that needs to be higher than 4 for me, so I've got them there. As you can see here, the gap starts to widen a little bit, where Denver has 55 and 27. They're sitting pretty at number 4. Again, they made a lateral change with MPJ. It could prove to be good, but I don't rank these based on what could happen. I rank them based on what I believe will happen. And what I believe will happen is they'll solve some problems, and one of those problems will not be their seed ranking. So they will be sitting at 4th seed at my prediction. I think Jokic is going to do another one of his amazing seasons. I think he's probably not going to be the MVP, but I mean, we could have said that for 5 years now. So honestly, not as much I want to say about them, but AG, shout out Aaron Gordon, he's going to be awesome. I almost don't want him to take a step up in the regular season, because then that might utilize a little too much of his fuel for the postseason. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I also lived in Denver, Colorado, so when I was out there, I was a little bit of a fan. Great team, great organization, great advantage with the home court thing going on. Trust me, as a Floridian moving up there, that messed me up. But they're going to be a fantastic team, and it's no knock to put them halfway through at 4, because 55 and 27, it's a winning season. That's all you need to get into the postseason going strong. So they're not going to have to worry about that. They know their matchups in the postseason are 1, 2, and 3. They know who they have to go through, and because of that, I think that 4 is perfectly fine for them. I think they're worried about what are they going to do to keep this team moving towards the postseason. They are technically on the exiting end of their team's core structure. They're not worried about how many regular season wins they're going to get. Let's just put it that way. And I think the fans know that. This is one of those picks where I think I'm going to lose either way, because Boston Celtics fans are going to say, no, we're going to have 50 wins and get to the 1st seed. We're going to have 60 wins. You have no idea how good Anthony Simmons is. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Jason Tatum is out for the season, or at least most of the season. And you know what you guys are not going to do? You're not going to give the damn ball to the only player on the team who should be having the ball. And that is your MVP, your finals MVP, the real MVP, Jaylen Brown. The fact that you guys treat him like he's Klay Thompson sickens me. I mean, he's there to bail you out every time, but as somebody who is not a fan of the Boston Celtics at all, and quite frankly, I think they're pretty corny, why is this even a problem? And now that JT has come out, you have a chance to have Jaylen Brown be what I would consider a 30-point per game scorer, and he's probably going to be playing off ball, so that way Anthony Simmons can get touches. Unless Anthony Simmons is out there jacking up 3-pointers that are off the pass, I will not tune into a single Boston Celtics game with hopes to root for them. It will be strictly business, because you guys have a cool team. You won a championship. You did what you had to do. But my God, was it strung out, and it was strung out bad. So please, don't take this disrespectfully. I still have you guys at 49 and 33. You're going to be close. I did put you a lot higher, and that's why not Boston fans or Boston haters are going to hate this video too, because you're going to say, no, that should be 39 and 43 or whatever the number comes out to. The reality is Boston Celtics, they don't have, as much as people might say they might have some incentive not to go crazy this season, they do have an incentive, and that's that they have to keep the team that exists willing to fight. When you're in the middle of a dynasty, when you're in the middle of a core team that's been to the finals or won a championship, you don't take a year off unless you're Golden State. You really don't do that, and even that had some lasting effects on the roster. When your team is put together, you have to fight through injuries. An injury like the ACL injury that happened to Jason Tatum, these days it's not a whole season ending, it's a majority of season ending injury. You cannot afford to turn your whole team off for that. Keep the engine running for a little bit. I think this is the right move, but you have to go through Jason Brown. You have to go through Jaylen Brown. If you don't go through Jaylen Brown, well, he's going to end up on the Lakers. On the flip side, I have Minnesota at 5. Again, one of those picks where people are going to say, why aren't you going to put them higher? They're a way better team. Look at the freaking record of 54 and 28. If you would rather have a 55 and 27 and put Denver at 54 and 28, fair enough. I'll pin your comment. Otherwise, the reason I did this is because they have a little bit less to prove. They really do. You might say, oh, well, they don't. Well, they just beat Denver, their longtime rival. They did what they had to do in terms of clearing the narrative. They might have fallen a little short, but they're also a bit more of a quiet Minnesota team than they have been the last couple of years, especially now that Julius Randle's on that team. People say Julius Randle is a step back. No, I just think he's a step quieter. Funny enough, besides that, I think the team is very solid. They have no reason to go lower, but I also don't think they have a reason to go much higher than this. They will be fighting for a top 4 seed, but quite frankly, Anthony Edwards had a very, 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 very good season last season, and he wasn't even an MVP top 5 candidate. So where do we go from here? If he has more in the tank, great. But I think that we might be witnessing an awesome Anthony Edwards and an awesome Minnesota team, but not 55 wins. Atlanta fans, you will be an above 500 team. Make no mistake. You have a bunch of these cloned 6'10" wing light skin guys. They're awesome. They all do different things. What Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Rissacher, I mean, you name it, they're everywhere. And then when you don't, you have Trae Young, who's an awesome guy. He's like a Steph Curry light. Not really, but you know what I'm trying to say here. He's going to be a fantastic player again. I hope he does get a little shine, because when Trae Young is shining, the NBA is a better place. I'm hopeful that they do get to play together as a healthy team. Obviously, injuries will do some damage to some teams, but I have Atlanta here because they're going to be above the rest of the pack. They're going to be a competitive team, but once you get to those top 5, that's when you start having to do the I proved you wrong category, and Atlanta fans are going to have to bear with me. I love you. I love Trae Young. I think Atlanta's a cool team. But y'all are a little younger than some of the other guys that are ready to break out, so prove something to me. At number 6 in the West, Dallas is my pick. 52-30, they're going to be a 50-win team. I know you guys are going crazy saying, this is the team, this is the finals team, no. Step back here. Let's use a little bit of brain logic, use a little bit of intellect, and we might be able to decipher why I put myself in the position to rank them at 52-30. Number 1, injuries are a big problem. You can say what you want about the playoffs, but they're going to be load managing at least a little bit. AD is not going to be on that court more than 65 games, and if that's the case, then you're going to have to add some losses to that category off rip. Kyrie's still got some injury concerns. He will be good, but you know what they're really doing right now? They're going to be building around Cooper Flagg. And I ranked him at top 10 in the West in my overall player ranking. People destroyed me for it. So I'm not hating on you guys or Cooper Flagg. But even a top 10 Cooper Flagg is not going to be over 52 wins. So bear with me here. You guys will be a good team, but you're probably going to be an incomplete one. You have a lot of other pieces. Derek Lively is awesome. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. The team is deep. The team is solid. There's a lot of strong pieces. But this is going to be the Cooper Flagg year, and you don't know what you're going to get out of him. I don't know what I'm going to get out of him. It could be a 25 point per game season. It could be a 15. And so I took it safe and said, well, if he averages 20 and 7 with a little bit of AD and Kyrie action, you can get 50 wins out of them. So they're going to be more worried about preparing for the playoffs. They're the first team on this list that I know for a fact will absolutely tank some losses in order to get ready. So, don't crucify me here, but 52-30 is where I'm putting them. I did not forget about you, Milwaukee. At the 7th seed, there is still hope. As long as you have Giannis on your team, he's the top 5 player in the world, probably top 3. 44-38, they are going to keep their heads above water, but they will be fighting in the play-in. I think the rest of their team is honestly in shambles. I think the fans would be the first to admit it. The coaching staff is not where they need to be, let's just put it that way. I don't think the team has a lot of plans for the future, and with their Damian Lillard thing really not working at all, I think it's just going to be a Giannis year, and a Giannis year can get you a slightly above average record. I hope that he goes for 35-13, but this record, this placement at number 7 is really just because Giannis is there. Otherwise, I think you guys would be to the right of this. But number 7 in the West is a totally different story. This team is making a huge jump. I think everybody would agree with me that the San Antonio Spurs are a lot better than they were last year. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama, he's ready to pop. He's going to be a top 5 player anytime here soon. I think this is the year. I think he can just stay healthy enough. Not even healthy all the way through, but just healthy enough. This is a 50-win team. They've got all the foundation that they need. I think the coaching staff is deep, which is probably one of the only times I'm going to say this. But, the team is really well put together. They have solid contracts. They have players that really just have to perform a role. De'Aaron Fox is solid. You don't need much more than him. The rest of your young guys just have to come to play. As long as Victor Wembanyama plays well, I think that, you have a chance to really shoot up this record. You're only 10 wins away from the first seed, and if you can go on a 10-win streak, 12-win streak, you're going to clear the rest of this. This is my sleeper team. This is the team that I really think I'm ranking too low, but for the sake of transparency, I am putting them where I believe they should be. I'm a big fan of the Spurs. I know in a year or two, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. For now, even if they get number 7, I actually don't think it'll be a problem. You will see them in the playoffs. They will get at least one full playoff series. Absolutely no question about it. We deserve one. We need one. Spurs fans, I am so effing jealous of you. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I don't even know why I put you at number 8. I think I feel bad. I really do. Joel Embiid, his career might be over. If he does play, he might be playing with one eye, half a leg, 2 bones in his spine, and maybe 3 teeth. I don't know. But he will roll himself out, though. The problem is, if that gets you 20 points a game, it's not enough. Tyrese Maxey is your only real jewel here, and you're not really doing anything with Quentin Grimes. I think you're done with him. The team is objectively worse. I don't know what else to say. Paul George, you can't be doing the same thing I'm doing as a hobby and consider yourself one of the top players on this. You can't do it. Sorry. If you're ready to be a podcaster full time, that's great. Go ahead and do it. You should not be sitting at 8 in the East with a 42-40 record. And 42-40 is delusion. I don't even like the Sixers. In fact, I dislike the Sixers so much that I'm putting them in the playoff race so that way somebody can beat them to remind me why I dislike them. And it has nothing, it has everything to do with the fans, but that's not besides the point. The team deserves better. I'm giving you guys a big free will. Maybe there's a pick in there. I believe the pick was taken, so there's no incentive to lose. But this is my, please don't embarrass yourselves more than you already have. I'm very sad for Joel Embiid. I spent my whole life hating on him until he won his MVP. Then I realized, this guy might not ever get another chance. And in the mashed potatoes of the West, 47-35 is the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, maybe this is the year where John Morant plays a full season and stays out of trouble. Jaren Jackson is a good player, and he's not getting enough credit. And realistically, with the Desmond Bane thing being over, I think it's time to maybe consider that the team might be in a different direction. So it's all up to John Morant. He's probably getting ready to re-earn his contract here, so I would expect him to have a very good season. But I'm also nervous for the team. They're still going to be above average. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. They have enough talent, and the talent is deep enough that 47-35 is a safe number to me. Besides that, like I said, Jaren Jackson is my big guy to watch. He's the key piece on this team. If they can honestly maybe shift some of the leadership responsibility over to him and make him the focal of the team, I think we might see perhaps even a little better than this. Memphis fans, I could be wrong, but if I'm not, let me know. At number 9 in the East, we have Miami. What can I say? You guys are too good to stink, too bad to win. 42-40, safe bet. I have no problem saying that. Again, Philly and Miami, I have no reason to watch you guys win, but I don't want to watch you guys lose because then you won't be in the playoffs to be beat. So I put you at 42-40. I'm not going to go ahead and disrespect, the teams I don't like, because here's what happens. If I said you're a 32-50 team, you're going to be a 51 team. So let me go ahead and give you your respect now. I will wash away the chance that I can be cursed, and I think we'll be good. But in all seriousness, Tyler Hero, he's a very good player. Bam Adebayo, I think is a top 15 player. You guys still have a strong team. There are some pieces that, really can work together, and the coaching staff is great. So I expect them to be more worried about maybe reshuffling. They're not much of a tanking team. I think this is their version of tanking, where they can say, hey, look, we might get a playoff run. We know that we're able to come from an 8th seed and actually, go to the finals. So we have no problem banking it from down here and grinding it out. And while we're doing that, we'll retool. So I think Miami fans are honestly used to this, and they're fine with it. Golden State, you're screwed. I don't know what to say other than the fact that Steph Curry is on your team. Besides that, you should be absolutely terrified of what's about to happen. The Jonathan Kuminga thing is a real disaster. You guys don't have the depth you need. Jimmy Butler is probably done for. If he watches this video, he'll probably wring my neck, but I don't know. No, wait, that was Draymond Green. Or did he punch somebody? Wait. He kicked somebody in the nuts. That's what it was. So this team's in trouble. They don't have their championship aura anymore. They don't have anything except for Steph Curry. And Steph Curry, in those 45 games, will probably give you 15, 30 balls. But that's why I'm tuning in for my bi-monthly 50-piece and my tri-monthly, if that's even a word, 8 or 9 3-point game, something like that. Besides that, I'm probably being way too generous with the record, except for Steph Curry kind of trumps all here. I feel comfortable putting him at 9. I also think that the rest of the teams here start to fall off drastically. Indiana, I am so sorry because you guys were very close to being the coolest team in the NBA and having one of the coolest players in NBA history. Now, don't get me wrong. Halliburton still is one of the coolest players ever, but he was robbed. You guys are still going to fight like Miami. I don't think that you're a team that relishes in the tank, and I don't think you have an incentive to. The team is still good enough. I think you guys are going to hover for that 500 spot. Whether or not you actually make it into the playoffs comes down to how healthy you are. But Pascal Siakam is no scrub. You have some other players on the roster. All we can do is, get well soon. There's 2 or 3 teams on this list already that are still going to keep themselves afloat with injuries. You're just, unfortunately, the third one on the list. And we have our first sub 500. Yeah, it's the Clippers. I think you guys are cooked. I don't know what's going to happen with Kawhi Leonard. To be honest, it seems all over the place. I don't know if he's going to be spending the rest of his career in jail or if he's going to be playing. But to be honest, if it's Steve Ballmer's job on the line, there might be no Kawhi. And I can't say that this is going to be the only time this happens. I think it will probably get worse across the board in the NBA. And this is where the second apron thing comes into play. It's going to be awful. The teams are so tight, and the NBA is doing this on purpose. The NBA is going to make sure that it isn't only 8 teams carrying the NBA's revenue. It's going to be all 30. They want more parity, less dynasties, more transactions, more trades. The more NBA teams that are better, the better it is for their bottom line. They're not in the business of basketball anymore. They're in the business of selling franchises. So it's in their absolute best interest to make sure that all of these teams are the best they can possibly be. With that being said, the Clippers screwed up. They're in trouble. I don't even think they were really that high on my list before. You gave away Norman Powell, and now you're in a deep pot of So I'm sorry, Clippers, but this is honestly a little high for me. I'm not sure what the incentive is to lose. I don't really know what's going to happen with the Clippers, this is an unprecedented situation, so this is the record I'm willing to give them. There's still a playoff shot in there somewhere, but very unlikely to me. Chicago's my annual case of, well, here we go again. At 39 and 43, you haven't done much else. You kind of blew it with the Giddey thing. However, look, he was asking for a lot more money, so I think $100 million is not that bad. But the team didn't get better. They're most likely going to do about the same. I'm a big Vucevic fan from his Orlando days, but we're in the crusty phases, guys. It's over. So I think they're going to get hit in the head a little bit and wake up and realize if they go a little lower, they might be able to grab a nice draft pick and fix themselves. If they have it, I didn't check. I don't think Chicago's is part of OKC's draft chest, but with OKC had like half of the league, so who knows at this point. Actually, I believe they do have a pick swap. I could be wrong about that. But other than that, cool team. I think they're going to sell tickets. I think they're going to have cool performances. I think they're maybe going to be seen in the first round like they always are. But 11, that's them fighting with their head underwater basically. So we'll see what happens here. Not too exciting. Sorry, Bulls fans. Welcome back, Damian Lillard. You're going to fix every other thing that's gone wrong on the team. He left because it was a 37-45 team, and he's going to come back because it's a 37-45 team. The team is cooked. It has nothing going for it. I don't know why they decided to bring back a guy who's trying to relive the last years of his superstar career in the middle of a time where they're trying to save the guy who's bust in his same position. I mean, this is bad news for Scoot Henderson. I don't know, maybe he's a combo guard and I'm not really aware of his off-ball game like that. But Damian Lillard's going to want to jack up shots and Portland's going to let him. So I'm not really sure what you guys are going to do as Portland fans. Maybe just, I don't know, watch the highlights like Adam Silver said. Sorry. If everything goes right, there might be a play-in game, but I don't think so. At this point, you're kind of out of the playoff race, but there might be a chance with 12. I'll start to speed them up for the sake of this video. However, for the remaining teams on this list, I'll make sure it's worth watching your team at least a little bit. At 37-45, Toronto's not a terrible team. They got some young pieces. I think this is the year where they're honestly going to say, hey, we have enough talent. Let's liquidate something, make a big trade, do something. I think you have 3 or 4 small forwards. I mean, it's a logjam. There's not much going on at the point guard position. I think that, honestly, at this point, a lot of your young guys are starting to come too, and you haven't yielded anything crazy. Scotty Barnes was cool, but Scotty Barnes 2 years ago was Scotty Barnes today. So let's consider the fact that maybe if you sell off 2 of those guys, you might be able to get somebody really awesome back. I think this is a season for them to really gauge all their options and maximize their best talent while minimizing their worst. So they're going to be a below average team. They're not going to utilize their bench the way they need to, but their best guys are probably going to have some very good seasons to raise that trade value. Same goes for Sacramento. They need to make a change bad. I don't know what else they have planned for themselves. They're probably going to maximize whatever they've got in their vets, maybe try to shine some of their young guys, but I think they're going to be looking to trade everything on that team. I think the beam is over. Sorry guys, you'll have it back soon, but what you did by trading Halliburton screwed you guys up big time. So, I'm hoping that the Kings get a little bit more of a enthusiastic fire sell method. They've got nothing to lose. They have no reason to start drafting again in the top 5. So let's not do what you're not good at. Let's trade some players. Let's get back into the playoffs and forget this thing ever happened. And for Washington, if this was my brother, he would have put you at 49-33. For some reason, he thinks all these young guys are going to explode at the same time. You've got some young, great players on that team. Trey Johnson looks like he's going to be cool. The team's got nowhere to go but up. However, I don't think the management is anywhere close to where they need to be to start competing. And I think teams in the NBA generally try to stay away from playoff pushes unless they have someone really key on their roster. And since you guys kind of keep whiffing, until you get another one, it's going to be stale. But I think there's a lot of quality side pieces, and maybe if you do want to exchange 3 or 4 of your options for a big one, you could do that. Just go ahead and rebuild Phoenix. I don't know what else to tell you. To be honest, this was a whole mistake. It was a disaster. If you want to say you're going to be a 35-win team, 40-win team, that's fine, but just go ahead and rebuild. Get it done with. Do what you have to do. Try to get your picks together. Do whatever it is that you need to do to move on from this, because clearly you destroyed a perfectly good run with Devin Booker. He was a finals run player. We're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to shame you for it. We all witnessed it. Either you start putting Devin Booker back in the playoffs or you move on from him. And this is why I'm giving you the gift of a 27-55 season, because you need to make a decision. And I promise you that if you don't and you end up around 7, 8, 9, or 10, you're done for. He's gone. You're going to lose him for nothing. Just bite the bullet. Pretend it never happened. You did your finals run. You had it. It is what it is. Hey, Brooklyn shouldn't even be mad about 31 and 51. At 14 in the East, they got no reason to do nothing but jack up shots, and they got nothing but guys who will jack up shots. Who needs discipline when you have Michael Jordan? It's discipline when you have Michael Porter Jr. You can just shoot as much as you want, and it's going to be great. Actually, I think Brooklyn's going to be one of the most fun teams to watch, because at any given night, I'm going to see a guy try to go for 81. He might only get 37, but still, it's going to be a fun time. Also, I don't know what they're doing about Cam Thomas. They're going to have to figure that one out, but I would like to see him alongside Michael Porter Jr., and I think the Black Hole City would be a pretty cool name for the Brooklyn Nets, so let's do it. Utah, you know you're just as happy as I am. You're all the way down here. You need another season. You'll want another season. You got some assets you can move, but really, you're nowhere close to the middle, so I suspect a 25 and 57 performance. I don't think you guys care. I think one more pick would be awesome, but to be honest, it's an Ace Bailey development year. We know this. There's some other guys around him that I'm interested to see what happens, and I think that honestly, if they can put together a front court, assuming Ace Bailey is considered a front court player, I think they might actually be a very solid team. I don't know personally how Ace Bailey fits in as a shooting guard. My brother argues with me that he is, but maybe I'm just sleeping on the strong shooting guards. I don't know. This is not a sign of disrespect. I think you guys knew this was going to happen, but also I had to mention you because you are part of the NBA. And the Orlando Magic of the 2020s, the Charlotte Hornets, who I don't think have gotten any better at any point with anything they've done, but they grabbed just good enough talent with their just good enough picks to get just enough better to not be as bad as last season. But even with a fully healthy LaMelo Ball, you're hoping for 26 points, 10 assists, and 35 wins. I don't know. I think you should just blow it up one more time. Just keep fighting for that number one pick. Trust me, when I was in Orlando, it was year after year after year after year of getting a 2, 3, 4, 5 pick in bad draft years. Just keep going, keep fighting with it, try to hold on to as much of that talent as you can, and you might actually get something, please. All the other teams I know in the league, they've already exhausted. The NBA script has already given them their treasure chests. It is time to give the Hornets their treasure chest. They will be the number one pick in the 2026 draft, I promise you. So just tank. And the actual worst team in the NBA at number 15 in the West is the New Orleans Pelicans. How the hell do you have that much talent and you can't win? Now, of course, that's me predicting they're going to be 21 and 61, but come on. You don't give me anything to run off of, and if we're using history and data and analytics, your best player is not going to play. Your second best player is 5'10". I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that Herb Jones is cool. The other guy that I thought was Herb Jones, but isn't Herb Jones, that's averaging like 20 points a game, he's cool. And then Jose Alvarado, if he's still on your team, he's cool. That's how much I don't care about the Pelicans. And it's not, well, it is because of your awful brand logo and design. New Orleans is a cool state, and New Orleans is a cool city, but no, you guys are cooked. It behooves you not to be the worst team in the league because you're already the worst team in the league. So if you don't act like you're trying to do it, it's going to look awful for you. So just finish out number 15. Let's close the book on that. And that, my friends, is all 30 teams. My voice is dry. That was exhausting. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And yeah, if you're about to fall asleep, play the whole video.